The most distressing part of my journey, I think, was realizing that the world is filled with those who cannot or will not act, and that of course most of the people that I know and care about fall into those categories as well. Now don't get me wrong, I am not claiming some sort of sainthood or anything. There are innumerable times where I have failed to act, failed to enrich my own life and the lives of others because of it. Sometimes we simply don't even see what it is that we would best do. Modern life tends to lead to high stress levels even at early ages, and it is easy to lose focus, lose sight of what is important in our lives and in the lives of those around us. But when it becomes more troubling, of course, is when the information is put right in front of people and yet they refuse to act. When people willfully disregard the welfare of the only people that they care about and ignore their impact on the world around them. And yes, a large part of that may be attributed to stress at this point, but sadly much of it still has to be caused by ignorance. Even in the most modern nations, there is a wealth of ignorance. People seem to revel in it, preferring to not be fully aware of the world around them, rather than understand and be compelled to act. It is easier to pretend that we don't know what is going on, that we don't see our part in the world, and to live life without that burden. Or is it? Wouldn't the individual be happier if they truly understood their impact on the lives around them, if they acted in ways that improved the well-being of those around them and felt greater understanding from those whom they care about? Ignorance is such a powerful prison, so powerful that we systematically build barriers even between ourselves and the people whom we care about most, in order to avoid any emotional discomfort, so that we can pretend that the relationship is healthier than it is. But while you may put makeup on a melanoma so that it's easier to ignore, and we can pretend that it isn't even there, sometimes actually solving a problem will cause discomfort, and it is important to endure the pain in order to keep what we truly need and care about in the world. Likewise, when we build barriers between our friends, our loved ones, our family, even our parents and children, we are killing ourselves emotionally and causing deep and lasting harm to them as well. Why is it that we feel that we need secrets? Why do we feel that we must build these barriers to protect ourselves from the very people who by all reckoning should be the closest people in our lives, the people who will not judge us harshly or even push us away from being who we are? Well, the obvious answer would be because even they are capable of doing just that, alienating us as individuals, making their own kin, their own beloved feel misunderstood, unwanted, or even valueless. As sure as all of the other problems in the world, we must confront ignorance. We must face those who we care about the most, expose our innermost being to them, see them for who they really are, and find deeper understanding and acceptance for the people who reasonably should be close to us for the rest of our lives. Without that, what is there? If you build larger and larger walls between you and your parents, your children, your partner, your only friends, who are you really protecting? Can you protect yourself from the truth of who and what you are? And if so, what are you trying to protect yourself from? Finding that understanding, the acceptance of the truth, is also one of the most powerful influences in bringing about meaningful personal change. If those whom we love can see us for what we really are, and accept it regardless of whether or not they approve, and let us know how they feel, whether it is approval or disapproval, but without condemnation, without hate, then we gain perspective on what makes us who we are. Beyond that, we as individuals can finally receive the support and compassion that we need to grow and evolve as people. Once ignorance on the deepest, most fundamental and individual level begins to erode, we should see people becoming more interested in what is going on around them, reaching out to neighbors, interacting with strangers in a more open and friendly manner, and gradually looking out to the world with more confidence, more care, and more responsibility for themselves and everyone around them. I know, it's a lot to ask for. Most of what I speak of seems to be easy to classify as a lot to ask, but these are requests that must be made, questions that need to be asked, and clear ideals to strive for. Humanity is currently killing itself slowly. We are losing sight of each other and ourselves. Maybe one could say that we never had it to begin with. That is a valid assumption. We have not been human for all that long. I mean, look at ants, for example. You don't often see an ant that doesn't understand how to be the best ant that it can be. It has millions of years of practice behind it, reinforcing that it is doing what an ant needs to do. But us? We've been what we consider human for such a short time. We truly have just crawled out of the caves and the jungles yesterday. Ignorance was a fact of life, wasn't it? Yes and no. It's true, we had little knowledge of the world around us. We had little knowledge of anything beyond the valley or plain that we lived on, and realistically it didn't matter for most people unless someone came to kill them. That is the sad fact, that the human race in our earliest stages of development knew nothing of other humans but fear and bloodshed. But at the same time, our lives were so simple that we knew everything there was to know about our village. We knew every person in our lives, inside and out, every detail and nuance of their relatively simple being. The differences between individuals tended to be vastly smaller than they are now, and with a general lack of differing beliefs, one community could easily live in nearly absolute harmony together, even if they were almost completely unaware of everything and everyone else beyond their little world. Unfortunately, war has created more contact between various cultures than any other single influence. It is our fear and mistrust of strangers that has gradually led to a breakdown of even the closest bonds in our lives. It is that feeling that even those who should love us most consider us foreign in some way that influences us to seek a greater distance from everyone else in our lives. And understandably, the further the individual drifts from the people near them, the harder it is to look at the world as a whole, to accept our individual place in that world, and act responsibly. To make matters worse, society has eroded the ability of the individual to impact their surroundings, to the point that for most people, intent and action seem to mean very little anyways, and we are left with nothing but a sea of opinions. Billions of people who all feel something slightly differently, and without the ability to address the parts of the world that should matter most to them, they spend their time arguing about or hiding from everything. The beginning is simple. It has to do with self-awareness. I have spent immense amounts of the last several years in near solitude. In that time, I have been in constant reflection about myself, constant reassessment, a constant search for what I am. Recently, I've realized that in some ways I had strayed far from myself, and my vision had blurred. I had lost sight of what was important, or just as bad, I had been wasting time in my search for answers. But it has been a great reassurance to me to also find that many of the truths that I've held for most of my life now ring true even through the trials and confusion that I've faced. It is this reassurance that has made me feel confident that now is the time. I may stutter over a few parts, maybe I'll misspeak at one point or another. I am only human after all. But regardless of all of that, it is time to accept responsibility. We must all accept responsibility for ourselves, who we are and who we are meant to become. Whether that leads to pride or disappointment, or for most a mixture of both, accepting ourselves and our place in the world is the only thing that will give us the strength to be ourselves, to begin stripping away the chains that we have placed on ourselves, and to seek deeper mutual understanding with those around us. When we accept who we are, and believe in ourselves, and begin to reach out again, as many of us may not have even attempted to reach out in years, then we can begin to grow again, to develop towards something greater within ourselves, to strive for deeper understanding and awareness of the world. It is that responsibility for self that may be the single most important thing that you ever find. It's always important to remember that all change causes pain, especially when what we are changing is a response to pain that merely buried it rather than resolving it. Facing yourself may be uncomfortable, confusing, or even somewhat traumatic depending on what you may have let yourself become over time. Breathe deeply, take things slowly, but never stop trying. Look deep inside of yourself. You can't expect someone else to find you. They can only observe what you show them. So find yourself and show the people who you trust and care about. Lean on each other and discover what it is that you desire to change and work on it. With the help of the people who understand your pain, care about who you are, and have faith in your ability to heal and grow. When you're ready, we can work on the rest together. We can become those who can and do.